Oh, man. Headlines are brought to you by Doral Kia. You got some nice tires over there. Choose over 500 new Kia models and inventory at the Sports Sorrento and Telluride. Remember, when it comes to Kia, the great deals are at Doral Kia. Miami Dolphins have their preseason finale tomorrow against the Jaguars. 7 o'clock is your kickoff. We will be on the air here on 104.3 FM.
Tell them about that extra hour, Tobes.
Not that extra. It's a dress rehearsal for us too, dude. 4 p.m. we get going tomorrow. So
is it because it's 4 p.m.? Right? Is it because the game's at 7? I think if the game was at 1, you still have 2 hours.
I think that's possible. I think, the way I understand it is I think Sports Day is on tomorrow from 12 to 4. And Glenn decided instead of a 5-hour sports day, because Dan Day also has to do the post game. I think he's just like, because we could go out, we could go to Infinity Sports Network. He goes, let's just go local. So he goes, a dress rehearsal for you guys too.
Right.
So we're ready. We ready. We got a couple of weeks off, and then we're ready for 4 hours of Game Day Uncensored every single.
You always ask me this.
Yep.
And I'm gonna ask you this: what would you like to see in tomorrow's game, regardless of who's playing, regardless of the circumstances? What would you like to see in tomorrow's preseason game that would make you feel good about where this team is?
To be honest with you, I do feel like there's a pretty good grip on everything. Like I think that we've established in the running back room. First of all, it sounds like it's going to be a busy Ollie Gordon day, because I don't know if Jalen Wright's going to bounce back unless he really feels threatened for his job, but I don't know how seriously hurt he is. We won't really know that. Right. So I think I'm all about watching Ollie Gordon tomorrow, because he's been a very exciting watch. Kind of interested in this wide receiver battle. Like, we feel like it feels kind of crowded. You got, Taj Washington, and you got D. Eskridge, who's balling out. Kind of feels like D, I would imagine, because he's been such a good returner. I would imagine he's got the leg.
See, that's where, and just to be clear with a lot of these things, when it comes to two guys that have performed close in preseason, the one thing that they'll look at is who plays special teams. And that's why a lot of veterans get cut, even though they've done some good work in the preseason, is because they don't do anything else. And Bill Belichick used to say this thing. He says, we have a 53-man roster, but we have 80 players based on the flexibility of what everybody can do. And that's always a positive for your roster. So I think, we're talking about the battle of the others.
Yep.
And I would say D. Eskridge, to me, and along with Ollie Gordon, along with a couple of these running backs, like guys that just got here last week,
right, have
done some stuff that at least makes you aware and makes you have to think about the decisions you have to make.
Yeah, because I was surprised. I was looking last year at the 53 out of camp, and they only kept 4 wide receivers. But, that's because Ezukama was hurt and Craycraft was hurt. But, you got Tyreek, Malik Washington, Jalen Waddle. I assume Nick Westbrook-Akina is making the team because they gave him money coming in. And so, if you're looking at a 5th receiver, you got D. Eskridge, you got Ezukama, Taj Washington, the Weasel.
So here's how you do this. Of those guys, who's a returner?
D. Eskridge and I think A.J. Henning have been doing the returning. And I think D. Eskridge is kind of
that moves them up a little bit.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So, and that's how you have to do this.
Feels like
also let's think about this. Who can I put on the practice squad that won't get swiped up?
Yeah, I don't feel like Taj Washington's going to get gobbled up because he was injured all last year, late pick. I think he'll make it, and I think the Weasel. Yeah. We got to keep the Weasel. I think Ezukama is probably the one who's in danger, right?
Which is crazy because he's been a
staple,
a camp stud for the
Bro,
last 2 years.
speaking of Cam Stud, did you see Skylar Thompson did it again yesterday in preseason?
What, threw for 1,000,000 yards?
For 1,000,000 yards. He's just like he literally is preseason Dan Marino. Like, this is crazy. I guess now he's preseason Terry Bradshaw, if you will, but like it's insane.
It's crazy, right?
Let me see what the numbers were yesterday. The final tally on it. But yeah, he's doing this, and everybody's like, the Dolphin fans even do. Whoa, was it the system? Like, no, look, can I see a regular season game of him doing it?
Here's what I would say. Unlike any other position. So if you're a running back and somebody gets hurt and then you have to play, you just move up, right? You just run the ball. You do what you've always done. There's not a whole bunch of talk about it. They just hope that you can carry the slack, right? I knew I was going to play and start 3 or 4 games a year because Robert was going to get banged up. That was my deal. I knew it. Everybody was comfortable with it. I had played before, so it was no big deal. When you make that a quarterback, now you become the spokesperson for the offense. So that means now you're getting the weekly interviews. Now you're getting all the attention that you don't really want. You want to concentrate on playing. And what ends up happening is the circumstances outweigh what you feel you have to do, meaning that now you feel you have to play to a certain standard and you forget to go out and play your game. And that's why when you have a veteran backup, that veteran backup doesn't feel that because he has been that guy before. And so he can just go out and play. For a young guy, it's a little bit different because you've been living in anonymity for however long you've been in the league.
Yeah. Prez says that he just muffed a punt last week, D. Eskridge. I understand, but he came back and he had a really good drive, and Mike McDaniel was all about that, like having the great drive after the muffed punt. And AJ Henning muffed a punt last week too, so they both did.
If you're a returner, right, you're gonna muff a punt. It happens. It happens to the greatest of great. Like, for some reason, that is a extremely dangerous job. And I tell you this all the time. You got to have one eyeball looking at the ball, one eyeball looking at, and you got to figure out while that ball's in the air, can I catch it and run? Should I fair catch? Which way is the protection going? How's this blocking? Who's free? Who's going to get picked up? Boom, the ball's in your lap. And so you need reps, right? Because it's a little bit different in NFL than college. College, the punter kicks it as far as he can. Sometimes he outkicks the coverage. You can dance around and make everybody miss. You get to the NFL, it's directional punting. The way they rush you is because of that directional punting, and it's a little bit different. So I expect, and I always have, at some point, young guys are going to muff a punt. And it happens to the best of us, happens to the best of return guys. You just, I don't read into it that much.
It's Luis Castillo weekend, baby.
Yeah.
Luis Castillo is going in the Marlins Hall of Fame. I looked it up, Leroy. 28 career home runs, 26 from the left side.
Wait, he played how many years?
I don't know. I'd probably say over a dozen.
And he only had 28 home runs?
He wasn't a power hitter. It wasn't his thing, but he was a monster power hitter. If you talk about just proportion of right side to left side.
So he hit like Ichiro.
He was I would say like Ichiro had like that famous, like swinging run into first base at the same time.
Ichiro swung like he played women's softball. That's how they hit the
ball. Little bit, yes.
Yeah, the left-handers, they start running to first base and then slap it.
But Louis, he had like that little squat style, and he kind of like he would poke it to the other side or he'd go over the middle. The guy had a 35 game hit streak at one point. You know,
Yeah.
he was really turning heads with how impressive he was with that. But dude, when he flipped to that right side, mashed it. And honestly, one of the best defenders I've ever seen. I mean, he was
But
so good.
you know what? That was back in the day where if you played a certain position, we didn't even look at your hitting stats. So catcher, shortstop, wasn't a premium on hitting. Then that all changed to where everybody had to.
Yeah, everybody has to mash.
Still not as much with the catcher.
No, I mean, catcher. If you have a hitting catcher, it's why what Cal Raleigh's doing is so impressive. If you have a hitting catcher, I mean, he's having one of the best home run hitting seasons a catcher has ever had.
Right.
You know,
and I'm talking about a true catcher, not who's my man for the Mets that came down here for 3 seconds.
Piazza?
Yeah.
He was a true catcher. He just wasn't very good, like as far as running. He wasn't very good as far as throwing out runners. Like it was a free for all when you had Piazza behind the plate. But Luis Castillo is going in there. Proper choice. Number one in your hearts, number one in your programs.
Yep.
Happy for Louis. But the Miami Dolphins, they'll be back at it tomorrow. And they got themselves a date with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Duval.
Oh, that's just it's creepy.
It is creepy. It is. He said that they're not playing the starters. The Jaguars are not.
So here's I was looking at the chat.
Yeah.
Right. And I saw something that like I was like, yeah, I can deal with that. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay. In the meanwhile, do you want to know who the Jaguars' backup quarterback is?
Who?
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins.
So get ready for that, dude.
All right. It's Al Mackey said it. Power runs and pass protection.
That's what he's looking for?
Yep. And okay. I could deal. I want to see, because of how unfluid the offensive line is, then no matter who is in there, I need to see them play a certain way, because during the course of a season, they might end up playing. So when it comes to offensive line, I don't care who's in there. I want to see the mentality in which they play. And I want to see if these running backs are going to continue to run hard and physical and whatever, because we haven't seen this since, I mean, what, the first year
of them running like
Mike
this?
McDaniel?
Yeah, I would say like once you mentioned, like they had a different switch once Jeff Wilson got there in the middle of the first year. That seemed to kind of light a fire.
Right, but it's almost like, and here's what's weird about this whole situation. It's almost like he recognized we need to run the ball more physical then, and he brought in Jeff Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, and I would say this, when Achane started balling, right, they figured, oh, because of Achane, his size, that we need to run him in a way that best fits his skill set. And what I would say is this: your speed becomes even more potent when a play is designed to go inside and then you pop that thing outside.
I'm really bothered by Schmeeth, and I know I shouldn't be because he's a professional troll, but he says, great, what are they going to do next? Have Chris Coughlin Day? Maybe the Heat will have a Carlos Arroyo Day. And I just like, why are you disrespecting Luis Castillo, Schmeethan? It would be like he's the equivalent to like Tim Hardaway. I don't like what you're doing. Will not have the name of Luis Castillo slandered in this chat.
Right.
Speaking of running physical, Ollie Gordon, he talked about, listen, man, no run side to side for me. I'm going north-south. Let's go, baby.
It's really, whenever I get the ball, it's me or them, honestly, and I'd rather not get put on the highlight tape and, make my lineman blocks pay for it. So, I'd rather just run behind them. They're going to get a hat on the hat and just getting downhill, I feel like that's more my style than sideways, I always get to go north to south.
Yep. When I got into the league, I had a coach. We were going through the first day of camp. And keep in mind, when you're in college, you're faster than a lot of guys, right? So you can kind of, as a running back, you can kind of run wherever the hell you want. Now, what helped me was we played a wishbone, and I played all three positions. But when you play the front of the wishbone, you're a yard behind the quarterback. So all your decisions have to happen that much quicker. So that helped me. But when you have plays and you run it outside, you're faster than everybody. So you can get to a lot of places you can't get to in the NFL. So when I got to Cleveland and I had a couple of runs, and he said, he did this to me, 5. And what does that mean?
$5.
He said, I will explain as we go. So as camp went on, I'd get a ball, I look a little tight inside, boom, I'd just run it outside. Get a horse collared, 2-yard gain. He goes, that's 1. Right? And we got all the way to 5. And he said, listen, these guys are bigger than you and in some cases faster than you. You ain't going to get out there just by running out there. You can set them up and then bounce it, right? That's different. But you're not just going to, but you have to have elite speed to just take a ball and run outside and outrun everybody. And in fact, it very rarely happens.
Who was this running back, Mr. Miyagi, who was putting you through mind tests?
I can't think of his name. His first name was George.
This was rookie year?
My rookie year.
And I'll look it up. I'll do some research on that.
And so that was part of, he said, part of the reason why you're here is because you have the ability to read, things very quickly because you played in the front of the wishbone. So I picked up on that, and that's kind of how my career started. Even with Robert Smith, who was a lot faster than me, right? Most of his big runs started inside, through the hole, then bounce. They very rarely happen where you just catch a toss and run it outside. And that's one of the things you learn as a running back. So
the coach was George Sefcich.
Yeah.
Is that how I say it?
Yeah.
Sefcich?
Yeah. And so
no longer with us.
Yes,
away.
I know. And so from that standpoint, when I see like even Achane, when you see some of his best runs, they usually start inside. Then he bounces and outruns everybody.
You want to know what old George's first coaching gig was?
What?
He was the 1964 University of Notre Dame wide receivers coach.
I knew there was a reason why I didn't like him. I'm just kidding. So like, yeah, there's certain things you have to learn. So when you have a guy that comes in and understands what his strengths are and how he's going to best be able to perform, I appreciate it. I appreciate him doing that. It doesn't mean that you can't break one. It doesn't mean you can't have the same long runs as some of the faster guys. It just means that how you go about it and how you get to that point has to be different.
Man, old Coach George.